Hey guys, I'm Bill Jones, black belt under Pedro Sauer in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. With me, as always, is my friend and co-host Ed Whitney, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt and manager of Top Level Martial Arts. Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we wanted to talk today. Last week we talked about weight loss, gave some tips on weight loss, and you talked about a little bit about goal setting and kind of the importance of like one thing at a time, right? Like you
Keep
don't
it
need
small.
Yeah, you don't need to don't try to lose 50 pounds this year. Try to lose 1 pound 50 times, right?
Yeah.
So free tip.
Great tip.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is stress and stress relief. People come back around all the time. They come into the academy talking about being stressed. And I kind of wanted to change the format of what we did last time. I felt like we talked about ourselves maybe a little too much at first. And I wanted to give you just a couple tips. I wrote a few down to kind of help relieve stress and maybe even talk about some of the things that stress you out in life and the things that we do to combat those and to help them out. Although for me it's very much jiu-jitsu. But, excuse me. Just some of the things that kind of come up, I think, in everybody's life and every day, and some ideas on how to deal with it. So I went ahead and wrote down a few tips here, and the first thing I want to talk about is just being prepared. I think that a lot of people, for example, will say, okay, well, tomorrow I have a meeting at work, and you'll go in and you'll go to work and you say, okay, this meeting's in 2 hours. And you start preparing for it, and it's kind of like cramming for a test at school, right? So I think preparing for whatever it is the day has ahead of you or the week has ahead of you, and if you read the book 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, he talks about preparing things a week ahead, like making a list of things that you need to do for a week instead of okay, this is my to-do list for tomorrow. It's this is my to-do list for the week. And as long as I get through that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that's one you can apply to everything.
Yeah.
Just being prepared, no matter what area of your life it is.
Yeah.
It works for kids, work, school. Just be out in front of it.
And you bring up kids. I mean, this is a common thing. I know that for me, when I was young, my mom would always make me lay out my school clothes the day before.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't waking up and trying to figure out what I wanted to wear, and then then having to come to breakfast and everything in the morning was just all the plans in the mornings just went straight down the toilet because I just wasn't ready.
You can apply that 7-day thing to that as well. Why not have their 5 outfits hanging for the week? Sunday night, that's something you do every week.
Yeah. Preparing meals ahead of time.
Yes.
My wife actually she eats these little egg things. I don't like them. She loves them. But she'll make an entire week's worth on Sunday. And then just put them in little baggies, and then every day she just takes it, and then she takes it to work and eats it up or whatever. I don't know, gives it to
whatever
a dog.
she
Whatever
does
she
with
does
it.
with it.
I don't know what she does
I'm
with it.
assuming she eats it. Excuse the cough. I think just preparing ahead is a good one. I'm kind of going through my list here that I wrote down. Another one is. I think we tend to be too wired all the time. And what I mean by that, I guess, is I'm doing it right now, right? I've got my phone in my hand. And mainly because that's what I write things on.
Yeah.
But, maybe just taking an hour, 2 hours a day, put the phone down, maybe write a note on Facebook, send out an email, say, hey, I'll get to you tomorrow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Give yourself some you time, some really true you time. And maybe that includes your family or whatever. It depends on what your personal values are. But say, okay, tonight at dinner, I'm with you, honey. I'm with the kids. There's no electronics whatsoever.
Yeah, especially even children are wired in nowadays.
Yeah. More so than us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's one that the entire family just unplug, sit down, enjoy each other's company. Come back to reality for a while.
Yeah, and something crazy might happen, like you get to know your family.
Yeah, right.
You get closer as a family. And I think technology is great. I'm a huge fan of Facebook.
So
not only personally, it does a lot for my business. A lot of people know about me because of Facebook, but I think that putting down Facebook, putting down Instagram for just a few hours, a night is a huge thing, and it just kind of lifts this weight. I saw a study that said that humans respond. It was a Simon Sinek was talking about it.
Okay.
And if you look up Simon Sinek, he's extremely intelligent man, extremely popular person, and
informative.
Knows a lot about the millennials and all this stuff. But he was talking about how dopamine gets released, like when you hear those little pings and stuff, and it's just like what happens at like a casino.
I was going to say slot machines are notorious for
and
that.
But I don't know, a lot of people realize, if you think about the sound that the tokens make when they hit that slot machine, that's not an accident. Someone did a study and said, what sound is the best? What do people like? And
that money
ting,
falling
ting,
down.
ting, 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 ting. And it's the same thing with like the vibration in your phone. That used to be like, I'm going to keep it so nobody knows my phone's ringing. So you put it on vibrate.
Yeah.
Now people respond to that vibration more than they respond to a phone ring.
Wow.
And it releases dopamine and all these things, just like, so it can be very addictive.
Yeah, a lot like the games. The games on your phone are designed to use those same techniques.
Yeah, so putting them down and getting rid of them and not being, just kind of releasing that addiction for a little bit is very stress relieving. It's
really
very
is.
relieving. And so I try to do that a couple times a week myself.
The kids might fight you a little bit at first. They're not going to be happy about it. It's ingrained into their mentality, but it's definitely necessary.
Right, and I think the key there too is if you're going to tell your kids, hey, no electronics for the next 2 hours, you better have something for them to do. They're
point.
kids; they still need entertained, right? They can't just do whatever they want. So have some things that you're planning. Have a family activity, whether it's just sitting down to a meal or going out to the pool together or whatever.
Taking a walk.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do with the fam, because you kind of trap them.
Yep.
You're still doing a physical activity, but everybody's just kind of trapped in a group, conversate, spend some quality time.
And that takes me actually to the third one, is physical activity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Physical activity. Great segue, man.
That was
It's like
unintentional. It was not planned, though.
Come on, Ed. We got to take credit for that.
Okay, sorry. That was natural.
Yeah, so physical activity is huge. Again, just like they talk about runner's high, right? And if you're not a runner, you think runner's high? No, never happening. But exercise or when you find something that you like and a physical activity that you like, you do get this kind of high from it. I guess that's
absolutely.
And again, these are hormones being released in your brain, pleasure hormones. That are saying, yeah, I like what we're doing right now. And I'll like a walk, especially like a 20-30 minute walk, will do that for you.
Yeah.
And so not only are you getting away from the cell phones and the electronics, you're also adding this chemical response in your brain, natural chemical response, that says, hey, we like what's going on. You're getting to know your family. So now you're using several different things to
accomplish that stress relief. Yeah. Applying several at once.
Yeah, that's a huge one, is physical activity.
Yeah.
And I mean, that if you read almost any study on physical activity of any kind, whether it's Jiu-Jitsu or CrossFit or whatever, people are always saying that physical activity is going to relieve stress.
Yeah.
What's one you use, Ed? Do you have one in your brain? I've got a couple more written down here. I just don't want to. People don't want to hear me the whole time.
See, I don't know that I necessarily.
The ladies are begging for you.
I don't necessarily focus so much on stress relief as much as stress prevention.
Okay.
And that was like your preparedness, getting enough sleep. You know what I mean? So you're not waking up in the morning half dead, struggling to get through the day. So I can't really say that I relieve stress as much as more prevent it.
Yeah,
I try to get out in front of it.
Getting enough sleep thing. We talked about it a little bit last week. Is that was like my commitment for the year.
Yeah.
Is that I'm just going to go to bed. And by the way, 2 days down.
Yeah, that a boy.
Done it twice.
I'm telling you, I wake up every morning happy. Just because if I get that 8 hours, turns out these doctors have done some studies and it actually works. 8 hours, I wake up and it's just a different world. It's not so overwhelming,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the sleep thing is huge. It's helped me out myself.
Yeah. Stick with it. But my biggest one, I'm trying to avoid saying this, but jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's that runner's high you were talking about. Like when I get done with a good hard roll at the end of the night, you just walk out of here, feel 10 pounds lighter.
Yeah, that I wanted to get into that a little bit more in a few minutes, but yeah, I mean, and again, it goes back to physical activity in general.
Yeah.
But for you and I, it's jiu-jitsu, and,
Yep.
and there's a few reasons that we kind of discussed a little bit last week, and I think we're going to discuss a little more today.
Okay.
Why jiu-jitsu specifically for me and probably for you.
Yep.
Like running, I can do running, and as I get older, I like
my joints, my
it
ankles,
hurts.
yeah.
And that's not everybody. You
No.
know, I'm not saying that that's going to happen to everybody. That's not true. I mean, if anything, there's 80-year-old marathoners out there who
absolutely
love it.
And do great
But
with it.
You know, most of them aren't 200 pounds, and I say this all the time. And, people will see old videos of me, and they'll say, "Wow, Bill, what were you in there? Like 165?" I'm like, "No, I was 215."
Yeah.
You know, like I have been a larger than normal human being all my life, and so like even when I'm in great shape, running is not
stressful.
that fun for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do it because I had to with the military, but it would hurt. It would hurt a lot.
Make you ache.
Another one that I think is really important, and I think I'm going to put my list down now, is, and this is something I'm going to announce coming soon, but we're going to start doing here at the Academy, especially for the kids, is identifying something good that happened each day. So look back on your day. I heard a meme, or I read a meme, I should say, or saw a meme, or meme, or what. I think it's meme, but
yeah.
People argue with me. Whatever you think it is, it's fine.
It's a meme.
I'm not going to argue.
It's meme.
So, and it said something to the effect of, "Did you really have a bad day, or did you have a bad 5 minutes and not let it go?"
Yeah.
And I think that if any of us who've gone home and said, "Man, I had a rough day," really what you probably had, if you really look back on it, is maybe a rough 5 minutes here, a rough 10 minutes there, a tough 7 minutes here, and that compounds for sure.
Yeah.
But what happened in between that time? Did you take a minute to just enjoy it? Man, that 5 minutes was really hard, man. That was killer. Whew. Sure, I'm glad that's over. I can relax now. I can breathe. And if you take time at the end of the day to just say, "Hey, what good stuff happened today?" Like I sent you an email last night that said, "Hey, just so you know, we had a great day," because we had kind of a busy day yesterday at the Academy. And I said, "Just so you know, that was a great day. I know there were some moments of chaos, but overall, we had a wonderful day here.
Yeah.
Lots of people training, learning new stuff. New members coming in, to share jiu-jitsu with. So I mean, that to me is a wonderful thing. And like when you look at it that way, it's like, wow, that's really relieving. You can stop for a second and say, yeah, there were some tough parts, but you know what? There was also some really, really cool highlights.
I think that's what I'm going to apply for myself.
Yeah.
That's a new one. See that? He's even giving me new stuff to use.
So
I've never thought about that. Just every day.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do with the kids is for merit stripes and stuff, we're going to have them start gratitude journals.
Mm.
And we'll go get some journals for them to use, and we'll have them write every day something that they're grateful for in that day. It has to happen that day.
Okay.
So and I think maybe even for the adults, recommend them do it as we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's really big, and that will relieve stress. Just looking back and saying, maybe this day wasn't as bad as what I thought it was.
I seen an interesting analogy for something like basically what you're describing. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like if you had we'll say $20,000 in your bank account, and you lost $300, would you spend the rest of your $20,000 trying to get that $300 back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the answer is of course no.
Yeah.
But in the terms of a day, if you have 300 bad seconds, should you throw the other 20,000 seconds of the day away, worrying about those 300 seconds?
Yeah, that's an awesome analogy.
Yeah, of course not. That's
another great one that I like, and it's I don't know the right word for it. I guess I can say it sounds a little pompous.
okay.
It sounds a little arrogant to say, but I believe true is and this one I saw from I don't want to say friend, but an acquaintance of mine named Ryan Healy, and he's a very high level, very very successful person in the martial arts industry, and he wrote on his Facebook right before the first of the year. It said, if you had a bad year this year, I bet you have a bad one next year. It's all about your mindset. Mm. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, you may have had some really rough times this year, and I know people who have had I mean, we all do. I'm
Yes.
sure we can all look, and it might be one of you watching right now, that we can look and say, hey, this person had it rough. They went through cancer. They went through this. They went through that. Everybody's got something they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But if you allow that to say, okay, well, this was the worst year ever, and you don't take those moments and say, well, you know what? Remember that. And this I can speak for anybody who doesn't know about me. My mother, when I was 15, was diagnosed with cancer. We went through a 2-year process, and she healed from it. And then just recently, a few years back, it came back, and she died. But I remember certain times about when she was having chemotherapy. And there was a time she had to spend, it was supposed to be 30 days in the hospital, and she had a really great mentality. She said, you know what, I'll do it in 15. She was out in 18.
Nice.
And but I remember I came and I stayed at the hospital with her for a couple days, and we ordered pizza. And we got pizza for the nurses station, and then for us, and excuse me, I'm choking up a little bit.
I see.
But, just sitting there with her and eating that pizza, that's a memory I wouldn't give away for anything.
Yeah.
During one of the hardest times of my life.
Yeah.
And I've got memories from like that from when I was in war. I've got memories from like that. And those are years that I could look at and say, gosh, those were just the worst years ever. But I also look at those and I say, you know what? Those are some of the strongest years of my life.
And the most memorable as well. Yeah. I mean, of course, there's a lot of negative involved.
Yeah.
But like you just said, those memories. And that's focusing on the positive in a negative situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're all going to go through negative situations in life. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Life is hard sometimes. And it's, you just got to be prepared for it and how you deal with it.
Yep. And just always having that positive frame of mind. People say, well, yeah, but did the cancer eventually kill your mom? Yep, it did.
Yeah.
But you know what? I had her for 20 more years.
Yeah. Yep.
So
if she wouldn't have fought that good fight,
Yep. So, my point is, try to be grateful for the good moments. Excuse me. Look for those every day. And that's going to relieve a lot of stress.
Yeah, just quit focusing on the negative.
Yeah.
That's a really...
Try to let it roll off you.
I was going to say easy, but that's not true. We all know that's not true.
No,
but
it's not
it's a
easy
very
at all.
effective one, I should say.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And I say that because in Jiu-Jitsu, for anybody who doesn't know Jiu-Jitsu or hasn't seen it, it started in like 1916, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that we do now. And the first Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy opened in 1925. And it eventually made its way to America. I'm not going to tell the whole story because that would get long and boring, but it made its way to America and exploded on the scene in 1993 when Royce Gracie just dominated the first few Ultimate Fighting Championship events, UFC. So if you've never seen it in action, you watch it self-defense and you're like, wow, this is amazing. It's very powerful. But when you train Jiu-Jitsu, you're not trying to beat each other up all the time. There's a lot of flow to it. There's a lot of, I'm going to say artistic movement. And one of the things you need to learn to do is live in the moment and even preparing for the next moment.
Yeah.
If I worry about
several moments.
Yeah, if I worry about, because it's a lot like grappling and well, it is grappling. It's
grappling.
a lot like wrestling is what I meant to say. So for anybody who's never seen Jiu-Jitsu, it looks to the layperson a lot like wrestling. And one of the things that you do, so if I end up in a bad position, I can't at that moment say, oh man, I'm in a bad position. I have to just keep going. I have to say, okay, well, don't get choked. Let's move to the next good position. Where's the next least bad position?
Yeah.
And I try to get there, and then where's the next one? And next thing you know, if you keep moving that way and keep thinking that way, you're in a better position than you were, and maybe even winning the match.
Or at least surviving.
Yeah, which is going to be the goal for every new person at first. But the stress relief from that comes in so many different ways. One, we talked about the exercise. We talked about the
endorphins and dopamine release.
Yeah, and just exercise being beneficial to your stress levels. But on top of that, it builds a confidence in you, and it builds. I mean, I have been in for anybody. Again, I keep saying for anybody who doesn't know me. I don't know why you would know these things about me, but I was an engineer for Philips Healthcare, we had some stressful situations going on, and I've been in some tense meetings when I was there, and I had the ability, and I 100% attribute it to jiu-jitsu, to simply relax. And I'm not saying I didn't care.
Oh, no,
I certainly cared.
You have to care.
But I was able to kind of weed through all the negativity and say, well, what are the real facts here? What's the real problem here?
Yeah, what do we really need to fix?
Yeah, what do I need to do to get to the next get to the next positive thing? So all these people are upset and letting all these emotions go, and it's like, okay, I get it. I honestly understand that you're upset, and I understand the problem. This is something that's ultimately going to be used on a patient, and which was really big for me. As I said, my mom was sick, and I dealt with a lot of, for anybody who doesn't know what PET scan, positron emission technology, tomography, CAT scanners, MRI scanners, and so we dealt with those things, and they're very important in the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure they're right.
And that's actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That actually goes back to your earlier question. What is one of the ones I use? That's one I use a lot. Is just sort through all the chaos and focus on what the real problem is and what I can do, if anything. Because sometimes you can't fix the problem.
Yeah, and then if you can't, so if taking this all the way back to jiu-jitsu, if it's a problem I can't control, meaning if you're in mount on me and you've got two hands in the collar, sometimes the answer is just to lay back and say, this isn't something I can fix right here. Let's find something I can fix.
Yeah.
I can't fix that problem. Where's another problem that I can fix?
Yep.
I can escape down here.
Yep.
And now I can deal with the hands being in the collar. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes knowing when not to react is just as important as knowing when to react.
Yeah, it's removing the emotion from it and just focusing on the actual problem.
Yeah. That's
one I like to utilize a lot.
And this is another thing people love about jiu-jitsu is just the chess game of it. Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
Because of the how analytical it can be.
It can.
Some people, and it's amazing to see the different types of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, some guys are just raw physical specimens.
But I mean, some people are super flowy, and you say, okay, well, what would you do in this situation? And they're like, I just go with the flow, man. And they're like, if they're pushing me, I'll just fall back and go with it. Other people are like, oh, I do this exact move no matter what. It's so amazing, and people who come up in the same academy create such different jiu-jitsu. It's a very beautiful thing to watch.
It is.
And it's art at that point. It's very much an artistic.
Yeah, it surpasses self-defense after a while and becomes
Yeah, I would say if all you want out of it is self-defense, and we're going to talk about that I think next week, is self-defense. We're going to give some tips on self-defense.
Okay.
And talk about why people join for self-defense. And
Sweet.
But, I think that to that end, you could train jiu-jitsu for 6 months, a year, and you're going to know all the self-defense you ever need. Quite honestly. People don't stay with it for self-defense necessarily.
No.
I mean, some do, especially like police officers and stuff.
Yeah.
They stay with it because they need to keep those skills sharp.
Because they're in those situations every day.
But eventually, they say they find other reasons that they stay with it. They like that it teaches them self-defense.
Yeah.
But they stay with it because there's other things going on. And we'll talk about those in another episode
obviously.
as well.
We can go on about jiu-jitsu forever.
Yeah. But back to the stress relief. So let's rewind a lot here and say, okay, people come through the door. Last week we talked about they come through the door saying, hey, I want to lose weight.
Yep.
And that's a huge reason. But they also come through the door really often and say, hey, I'm just looking for an activity that's gonna get my mind off.
Yeah, escape the daily grind.
Yeah. And again, I keep making all these comparisons to other activities, and again, never wanting to downplay those activities. They're great. Whether maybe it's spinning or a basketball group with friends or whatever, CrossFit, kickboxing, whatever. They come into jiu-jitsu for that same reason. Right?
Yeah.
It's going to allow them to take their mind off things for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day.
Yep.
A couple days a week.
It's a great thing just to be able to escape.
Yeah.
Especially in a way that's improving yourself. I think all those activities you listed would help benefit you in the long term.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And I think diversifying is important too. I think certainly we have people that jiu-jitsu is the only thing they do, but I think a lot of people, they do jiu-jitsu, they also play guitar, they also, and these things all come together to form a very
Yeah.
Not just stress relief, but I think a fuller human being.
Yeah.
You know, someone who a renaissance, if you will. You know. Again, I apologize for the cough, and I'm getting over a cold. You know, can you tell me a little bit about some of the people who come in? Do you have any stories that ring true in your head about people who've come in and looking for stress relief and
I mean, I don't want to speak too specifically about anybody in particular, but we got a lot of people that are in like high level positions. That, you know, they're just stuck in that corporate grind, and they always talk about how this is their Zen place, or this is my Mecca. You know, these are all terms that I've heard people refer to, because when they come in, they're just, you can see it in their face. They're flustered. You know, life, like I said earlier, life is hard sometimes. And by the end, they're smiling. They walk out glowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm trying to avoid specifics just because
and I can think of I can think of probably 10 different people.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm trying not to, you know, harp on anybody in particular. Just, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of times people will walk through the door, and they'll have this like
horrified look on their face.
Like they just saw a shark attack or something. And you know, and then by the time they leave, they're smiling, they're shaking hands, hugging everybody.
Yeah, I missed you, bro.
Yeah, you know, like, you know, it's just their place to come and unwind.
Yep.
And just relax. And we talked a little bit about that last week. I think with, you know, sometimes people just had a really, really tough day for them.
Yeah.
And they come in and like they don't even train that much. They're just happy to be here. They're happy to be somewhere where they're not the guy that has to make all the decisions.
Yep. They're just a guy.
Yeah, they're just another
regular
woman
guy
in the crowd.
Yep.
And you know, so I think that's important too. And we talk about that a little bit more too. You know,
yeah.
Just having a community and stuff. But which is one of the reasons people end up staying in jiu-jitsu for so long, I think, is because they fall in love with the community of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and the people you meet from other walks of life.
Yeah. They
turn out to be exactly like you. You know,
which is actually, that's a great point too. And you know, like, I think most people this rings true, and there's certainly some that it doesn't, and that's fine. But I think for most people, like, you know, we all tend to have our kind of set ways, and you see a person walking down the street, and you just assume, yeah, that's the kind of person I'd talk to, or yeah, I probably, you know, I'm sure they're a fine person, but I probably would never talk to them.
Yeah, they're not my type.
Yeah, but then like you get in jiu-jitsu and like everybody's wearing a gi and a belt, and really the only difference between, you know, when just at a glance is like, oh, that person's wearing a black belt and I'm wearing a white belt, or that person's wearing a blue belt and I'm wearing a purple. But like everybody starts talking, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, what do you do for a living? And you know, and just to give you a little perspective on this, guys like Keanu Reeves, Demi Lovato, Ashton Kutcher, these people all do jiu-jitsu, and they don't do it like in secret. It's
at the academy.
Common if you go to the same academy as them, well, I'll get back to this in a second. If you go to the same academy as them, you could walk in and just be sitting on the mat and just look over, and it's like, what do you do for a living? Hey, I'm Ashton Kutcher. I'm an actor.
Yeah. Like, what do you do for a living? I'm a plumber.
Yeah, I mean, I was. This is 100% true. You know, I was paired up with this woman down at the headquarters in Virginia, and I'm like, hey, and I'm not going to use her name because I don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid.
But you know, I said, you know, it's like my thing. I'm always like, hey, how are you? What do you do when you're not here or whatever? And she's like, oh, I'm married to. And she named an extremely famous actor, like Oscar actor. And I'm like,
wow.
Well, there you go. You know, like, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, like, people that you would assume, you start to learn that people aren't that different, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, that's the point
really
I was trying to make.
Stress too, right? Like, hey, here's Ashton Kutcher on the mat, rolling, losing.
Yeah.
You know, losing to people, and just being a dude.
Yep.
Just being a guy, you know. Here's this woman on the mat, rolling, training, just being an average woman.
Yep.
You know, like, and it turns out, I mean, she lives a very lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, like it's someone that you wouldn't expect to ever hang out with.
Yeah.
You know, same thing.
It turns out they're just like you.
Yeah. You're like, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a neurosurgeon. Oh. Okay.
And
you
the
know,
guy
and coming from me, like I grew up in I was on welfare and stuff when I was very young.
I can relate, sir.
For me, to meet people like that, you never expect to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you do, and you're like, oh, it turns out these are just people.
Just people like me.
And that can be very relieving as well, because I think we grow up with this stigma of how people are and how different people have to be, right? And it's not true.
It's really
and the
not.
minute you learn that that's not true, that
it takes a lot of
it takes a lot of pressure off.
A lot of anxiety out of life.
It's happened to me so often now in jiu-jitsu that it's like it's very relieving.
Yeah.
And I think that you could find that of anything. I remember playing a pickup basketball game in Youngstown, and I met this guy, and I mean, he was dominating the court.
Yeah.
But super nice guy. He'd pass the ball a lot and everything, gave everybody a chance, even though he could literally just drive the hoop and dunk on everybody. And, I get talking to him. It turns out he's a professional football player for the Philadelphia Eagles.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Super athlete.
But,
yeah, just a regular guy.
Nice guy. Nicest guy ever, and you wouldn't get that if you don't get out of your normal situations and go out there and find your activity.
Yeah.
Which for me has become jiu-jitsu.
Me too. I mean, it's not the only thing I do, of course,
Yeah.
I got a membership over at the local health club and stuff, but by far this is the main one.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is what you were just talking about, the lumberjack, neurosurgeon, plumber, you know what I mean, plastic surgeon. And you can never tell.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing for humanity, too.
It is.
It takes a lot of the walls, the segregations that we naturally build away.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you can do that, it's a great thing. I think I told the story last week about my military friend who goes out and he's serving in Oman right now. But he says that the main thing that he likes is when he's doing jiu-jitsu, he doesn't have to think about anything else. There's no colonels trying to tell him what to do. There's nobody trying to hurt him. No one. He's just there
in the moment.
He can just worry about that moment, that moving zen that I always talk about. You kind of get in the zone, and that's all you have to worry about is do I have to worry about a knee bar? Do I have to worry about an arm bar? Do can I apply this choke? Just build yourself and become a better human being. So I think that's huge.
I think that's a great mindset for life in general. It's just becoming a better human being every day. Because whatever you are today, you can be better tomorrow. And if you just get incrementally better every day, eventually...
Even you?
Well, I don't know about me, but, the regular guys. But yeah, no, I mean, no matter... If you're the worst guy in the world, you know what I mean? If you improve just a little bit, you're better than you were yesterday. And if you implement that every day, eventually you're going to be something good, Yeah. That's one of those things, like I said, I think I said it last time. I wish I'd have known that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I'd have started doing that when I was 10.
Yeah,
instead of 30.
I think the last one ended up with us saying that, we sound like old guys.
Yeah, I think they all end up like that, huh?
But, I mean, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Guys, if you take nothing away, just, go back, watch the beginning of the video again, listen to the stress-relieving tips that we gave you. Those are things I think you can apply no matter what, whether you go to a jiu-jitsu school or not, whether you go to, wherever you go, I think you can apply those things.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have questions, put them below. Do me a favor, give the video a like, and, go ahead and subscribe and comment below. YouTube likes extra comments and stuff, so let's make them happy. Anything you wanted to add, Ed?
No, I think we covered everything that we had laid out, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so, man.
All right.
Well, listen, we'll see you guys again next week. We're gonna be talking. I don't know. Should we say what we're gonna be talking about?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
No, it's gonna be a secret. But we're still gonna be on the why people start jiu-jitsu. So we've talked about weight loss. We've talked about stress relief. We got one more big one coming that I think will help you a lot. We'll have a bunch of tips for you. So, guys, thanks again for watching.
Thank you for watching.
We're out.
See you next time.